Behind you, coming up the stairs.
This is Generation Stadia, giving you your daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related. Yesterday, I made a video on some of the games coming to Stadia and gave you a quick description of them. That being said, while making the video, I couldn't help but feel that there's a lot of big titles still missing on Stadia. Now, to be very clear, I couldn't be more excited for Stadia, and I cannot wait to start gaming on it. That being said, this channel is to inform about Stadia, both the good and the bad, and clearly there are some very big names missing. I do recommend you check the pinned comment of this video in case there were any changes made and some of the games talked about in this video actually got confirmed for Stadia. Now, to begin, we won't be talking about a game, but instead a publisher that is yet to show any support for Stadia. And in this case, it's quite a big deal because that publisher is Activision Blizzard. So back when Stadia was first revealed, Google put up an image showing all the publishers that supported the platform. And honestly speaking, all the big ones were there except one. Yes, that's right, Activision Blizzard did not show up on that list. Now, why is that? Who knows? But chances are that they want to see the platform succeed before they start investing money into it. Activision Blizzard, more than most, is a very profit-driven company. Now, what does that mean for Stadia? Well, that you won't get any games like Overwatch, World of Warcraft, or the game you're seeing currently played right now, the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, as long as Stadia succeeds as a platform, it's pretty much guaranteed that these games will show up eventually. With that said, it is still a major bummer to miss out on things like WoW Classic this year or the new Call of Duty, which frankly speaking might be the best one in a long time. It also feels like the new Call of Duty would be a perfect fit considering how much they're promoting things like crossplay. And while it doesn't mean much, there was a video at GDC when Stadia was first revealed that actually showed 3 art books sitting in front of the Stadia stand. These books were for Assassin's Creed, DC Comics, and Overwatch. Now, to be very clear, this doesn't really mean anything at all, but one could hope that it's a hint for the future to come. Now, to move on, just because a publisher is on the list of supporting Google Stadia, it doesn't mean that they actually have any games announced for the platform so far. I'm looking at you, EA Games, and yes, you too, Capcom, and don't think you're gonna be hiding away from this either, Rockstar. In fact, these are the 3 publishers that have yet to announce any games despite saying they support it. Now, to be very clear, this doesn't mean that they're not actively working on anything, they more than certainly are. But I do want to point out on some of the games that we will be missing out come launch. So let's start with EA, and they actually have quite a big title that will be missing, and that's FIFA 20. And while it's not my type of game, there's definitely a huge fan base for it. In fact, we have quite a few fans in the Discord community alone. Honestly speaking, I'm actually quite surprised that FIFA 20 hasn't been announced for Stadia yet, considering just how large of a game it is. Another game that still isn't announced for Stadia so far, and one that hits much more close to home for me, is Need for Speed Heat. I actually grew up with this franchise, and quite frankly, it's gone downhill since then, but I still can't keep myself away from it. I would have loved to play this on Stadia instead of my PC. And the last big title from EA that's yet to be confirmed for Stadia is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This game just looks flat out great, and I really want to play it. I'm a huge fan of Respawn Entertainment and all the games they've put out so far, and I have little doubts that this game won't be just as amazing. Now, to be very clear, in the case of Need for Speed Heat, someone did actually ask a developer whether it would be coming to Stadia. The response given was that there are no current plans to release Need for Speed Heat on any other platforms than the other ones that they've already announced. And while that is quite disheartening for me to hear, I do want to point out that the Cyberpunk 2077 team also said something very similar before the game was announced to launch on Stadia. And while not all 3 games may show up on Stadia, if I were to place a bet, the next Stadia Connect is probably going to have some sort of presence from EA Games. Now, before moving on to Capcom, I actually just remembered one more title that EA releases this year that hasn't been announced for Stadia, and that's NHL 20. Much like the FIFA series, not my cup of tea, but there's definitely a big community who enjoys it. Now let's move on to Capcom, because I think they're in a very interesting position. I actually do enjoy some of their games, and there's a big one that I kinda wish was on Stadia. And that's Monster Hunter World and its brand new expansion. Honestly speaking, the game is great, and it would be amazing to be able to take that wherever I go. It would be really cool to have a mobile version of World that could be played anywhere without compromise. And while I do understand that the mobile version of Monster Hunter exists in a different way on the Switch, it would still be simply amazing to take all the visual fidelity of World in your pocket. Other than that, Capcom has some other great titles I would like to see eventually released on Stadia, sorta like Devil May Cry 5 that came out earlier this year. Now, the thing I want to put a spotlight on is Resident Evil Project Resistance. It was a recently announced Resident Evil title with a 4v1 focus. Now, personally, I don't think it looks that great, but I couldn't help but notice when they announced what platforms it was coming for, Stadia was absent from that list. Now, part of me thinks this may be because there's no Stadia version in development, and another part of me is starting to think that Stadia is holding off to make these announcements themselves. And this could be for quite a few reasons. As we've seen through Stadia Connects, many of these announcements tend to be third-party titles that are now making their way onto Stadia. I do really hope that this is something Stadia is doing until it officially launches, because I do have to admit it does get kinda worrying seeing new titles get announced, and at the end title screen there's no Stadia logo to be found. Now, will we see Project Resistance eventually on Stadia? Possibly. The game's still early in development, and Project Resistance isn't even its official title yet. I just hope it isn't the first Capcom game we see on Stadia, because I'm still holding out for Monster Hunter World. Now, the last publisher that's still yet to announce a game despite showing support for the platform is Rockstar Games, the creators of GTA, Midnight Club, and Red Dead Redemption. There have been some rumors floating around that they may have signed an exclusivity deal with Stadia when it comes to streaming their games. After all, they did recently pull their whole catalog off of GeForce Now. If you want more info on this, click on the annotation above where I discuss the rumor. But now let's stick to the facts. All we know is that they support the platform, and as for what that means, we really don't know yet. If I had to take a bet, it's probably a port of Red Dead Redemption 2 making its way onto Stadia along with the PC version of the game. Truth be told, I wouldn't put it past them to also port GTA 5. That cash cow is still making tons of money to this day. There also have been quite a few rumors floating around that Rockstar's next game may be a sequel to Bully. In which case, I would expect whatever they're working on is also going to make its way to Stadia as well. And I think that pretty much sums up all the big name games and the big name publishers that have yet to show off the game that they're supporting Stadia with. With that said, I'm 100% sure I've missed on many other games people would love to see on Stadia, and I'd love to hear what games you hope make the list. So be sure to let me know what game you wish shows up on Stadia later down the road in the comment section below. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button as it really does help the channel out. And if you want more videos like this, consider hitting the subscribe button and tapping that notification bell as well. This has been Generation Stadia, giving you your daily dose of everything and anything Stadia. And if you want to be a part of the Gen S family, consider joining the Discord server that's in the description below and the pinned comment of this video. Now, until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds. Peace.